Our Across the Aisle segment tonight. Earlier this week, Georgia's 6th Congressional District held a special election. Democrats were hoping to use the election as a referendum against President Trump. Their candidate, Jon Ossoff, he raised $8.3 million, 90% of which came from outside his district. If Ossoff received over 50% of the vote, he would have won the race outright and avoided a runoff election. But despite the millions of dollars from outside and the support of Hollywood celebrities, liberals still couldn't pull this one off. Take a look.
That no matter what the outcome is tonight, whether we take it all or whether we fight on, we have defied the odds. We have shattered expectations. We are changing the world. And your voices are going to ring out across this state and across this country. We will be ready to fight on and win in June if it is necessary.
Joining me now, professor and author of Obama's America, a transformative vision of our national identity, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you.
Good to see you again, Liz.
All right, Ian, I'm going to put this to you very bluntly. Democrats put a lot into this race, $8.3 million, record fundraising here. A lot of celebrities got on board, a lot of high-up Democratic operatives. Why do Democrats keep losing like this?
Oh, this is not a loss for Democrats. It's a win. They did very, very well here.
Is he in Congress?
Well, not Karen Handel's not in Congress yet either. I mean, I don't want to go too far and get too excited, but I think I think you've gone a little too far in the other direction. Look, I like numbers and I like data. This is the Georgia 6th Congressional District. Tom Price won the district by 23 points in November. Mitt Romney beat Obama here by 23 points 4 years ago. Now, on the other hand, Trump only carried the district by about 2 points. So Ossoff ran this week about as strong as Hillary Clinton did in the district. But even that's a victory, given that Republicans have the advantage in midterm elections. The Democratic voters don't come out.
Wait a second. Let me understand this. How is this a victory for Democrats if Ossoff won the same amount by the same margin, if he got the same margin as Hillary Clinton and Hillary Clinton lost?
Right. Well, remember, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2%. So you're talking about this election as a gauge of where things are going. I think it would. You have to look at the three results that I mentioned. One is that Price won by 23. The district, and Trump won the district by 2. So is Ossoff coming in about the same that Trump did is still 20 points better than the Democrat did against Price. So I would say overall that's a strong result for Democrats. It's not as strong as it could have been, but it is a strong result for Democrats.
And I guess I don't quite see that. I mean, $8.3 million, that's an insane amount of money for a congressional district in Georgia here. This had all the power of the entire Democratic Party behind him. Even the Hollywood elites were tweeting about it. President Trump even tweeted about it. This had as much attention as it's possibly going to get, and he still couldn't pull that off. How is that a victory?
Well, because this is a conservative district. Democrats aren't supposed to win in these districts.
And he didn't win. He didn't get 50% of the vote. He got 47.8, just about 48%. He still has to go to a runoff in which he's likely to lose.
Right. But remember, there were other Democratic candidates on the ballot. He wasn't the only one. It was what I guess in Louisiana is called the jungle primary. Right. That's why I say this is a good result for Democrats. It's not a great result, but if you take this result, you combine it with the Kansas race where the Republican won by 7 points after Trump won by 27 points only a few months ago, that's a pretty good-looking trend for Democrats.
Ian, the trend I see, to be perfectly honest, is Republicans won in Kansas and the Democrat lost down there in Georgia. I mean, this isn't changing it from a losing streak to a winning streak. It's keeping up what's happened the past 8 years. The Democrats have lost over 1,000 seats, in my opinion, based off of not the individual people or their personalities or their fundraising or their structure or their campaigning strategies, based off of their policies and their agenda. And it's not ending. Democrats haven't changed anything.
I don't want to get too deep into numbers here, but the point is not to win or lose any one individual race. It's whether these races show a trend going forward. And the Kansas race and the Georgia 6th race, and we'll see what happens in Montana next month, are pretty good signs for Democrats. They're not slam dunk signs for Democrats. If you look at the results of the last two presidential elections, Georgia 6 okay, is an important district. But
Right.
there are 48 House districts where Republicans won in November that are more Democratic than Georgia 6. Okay, Democrats only have to win 24 of them to flip the House. So it's not like Georgia 6 was a middle of the road district.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I just want to make sure that I understand this strategy. So what you're saying is if individual races aren't that critical, if this guy, if Ossoff losing is still a victory, I mean, you consider a loss a victory then? When it comes down to getting seats in Congress, you either win or you lose. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter the margin.
Well, sure it does. If you want to talk about, and I guess I'm looking at this from a sports perspective, but in a predictive value, there's a big difference in terms of what it tells you going forward if you lose 99-1 versus if you lose 51-49, right? These are races that possibly are going to tell us where we are going forward. Democratic enthusiasm is much higher than Republicans, according to a poll that came out this week. That showed Democrats are very excited at a rate of 63%, Republicans at 52%, and that was from a sample where Trump's approval rating was 3 points stronger than his overall average approval rating, according to 538. So it wasn't an anti-Trump sample. So the signs are pointing in the right direction for Democrats. If they can come very close in that Kansas district and come even closer in Georgia 6, that tells me that they're going to win some other races that they probably were expecting to lose, let's say, in 6 months ago.
Right, and I've heard the same argument made before, the enthusiasm argument, saying, "Oh, look at the enthusiasm of Democrats; it far outweighs Republicans." I think that's pretty typical in the first few months of an administration whose president is the opposite party of you. But let me just put it this way. Let me submit this to you: if $8.3 million were spent, and it was, and the weight of the Democratic Party was behind Ossoff, and it was, the enthusiasm of the Democrats is at astronomically higher levels than Republicans, allegedly, and they still didn't win. Isn't that a danger sign for Democrats that their message, their opposition message to President Trump, still, given this situation, isn't enough to drive people out to vote?
No. If this was a 50-50 district, then I would agree with you. But this is still a red district. While the Democratic Party raised 8 million for Ossoff, the Republicans did okay with fundraising too, and they did have the power of the president and his tweets behind the Republican candidate. So you can also look at it that way. Well, it's a Republican district. Trump was out there tweeting against Ossoff, and he still got 48% of the vote, and with other Democrats in the race. It's probably 50-50 whether he wins the runoff or not. So ultimately, the result of this election is one more seat for the Democrats or for the Republicans, but Republicans still hold the majority in the House.
Right.
So there's no major impact there. As a predictive value,
the Democrats are saying it is. Obviously, the Democrats think it has a huge impact, or they wouldn't have spent such an astronomical amount of money here, put all the weight behind it. If it wasn't influential at all, they would have just brushed it under the rug, let Republicans have it, and not have this humiliating loss.
Well, there's no humiliating loss yet. And much of that money came in through the website Daily Kos, where I'm a contributing editor, I have to say that. And most of that money comes in from individual donors. There were no big donors donating a ton of money. You can talk about Hollywood all you want, but the Daily Kos puts a link up on a website, and people just write checks, $25, $50, $10. Right. So people are choosing to make this fight because it's the only fight that's going on right now. If you can run 50-50, whether it's 51-49 your direction or 51-49 in the other direction in a red district, that's a pretty good result. And
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait. I guess we'll have to wait until June and see. I see it through a different prism. Very